Welcome to GetMoreSports.com. I am your host, William Whalen, and we are talking upsets in college basketball last week. There were plenty of them, so let's dive into it right away. Talking about Utah going down against UCLA. The Bruins, very good at home, not so good on the road, but if they're able to go on a run here in the second half of the season, you have to like them, possibly getting back into bubble conversation. This team is dangerous and talented. Make sure to watch out for them. As for Utah, I'm not too worried about the Utes now. This is their second conference loss. They're one game behind Arizona in the standings. They still get the Wildcats at home. So I like the chances of them making that difference up. It's going to be key to see what they do in the interim. They've got to avoid games like that. They've got to avoid ones that they cannot drop. Now, the Utahs are still dangerous. The Utah Utes are still talented. I'm not too worried about them going forward. Let's go into a little bit of mid-major action. Starting in the Missouri Valley, Northern Iowa upends 12th-ranked Wichita State. Wichita State loses their long conference winning streak. I'm not too worried about the Shockers. They are talented. They are veteran-laden. They still have a chance to make a lot of noise in March because they've been there before. In the case of Northern Iowa, we're going to really dive into them in our college basketball podcast this week. So look for that. But I love this team. Moving out east in mid-major action, how about Richmond going to VCU to knock off the Rams? It's a rough loss for VCU, and their profile has been largely unblemished so far. If anybody had really good losses, as if you can have any, VCU had them. This tarnishes that a little bit, but I still love the Rams in March. They can make things happen with Graham on the perimeter. They can make things happen defensively. Still think that you've got to worry about them. This one may just give me a little bit of pause in the seeding line because they were certainly trending upward with their RPI and KenPom profiles. We're going to finish things up in the ACC, and it was a wild week, and we're going to, again, talk more about this in the College Basketball Weekly podcast, but we're going to start with Duke visiting Notre Dame in South Bend and falling in a thriller. The Irish, really what can be said about that team in that game? Clawing back from a double-digit second-half deficit, Jerian Grant was absolutely spectacular, cementing his status as a true Player of the Year candidate. Now, we've talked about that game. We're going to talk about Notre Dame going forward. We're going to talk about Duke going forward. But that game set up two different paths in the next game. Duke goes to Virginia, goes on a 16-5 run late to overcome the Cavaliers. Now, not a lot of teams nationally have the kind of offense to do that to Virginia. There are a few, though. That's going to be what's key in the NCAA tournament, is if Virginia can withstand maybe not being the most explosive offensive team. They are certainly dangerous offensively, but they're not as explosive as others. If they're going to go deep in the NCAA tournament and convert deep, make it to the Elite Eight and win, make it to the Final Four and win, maybe even win a national title, this is the team that's going to have to find some explosion going forward. Now, they certainly have talent. Anderson is a transcendent talent, but I want to see more offensively from them. Duke, we know how talented they are. We know offensively that they can make things happen. Defensively, I was extremely impressed because Suleiman, that's where his presence was most felt on the perimeter defensively. Really, what I'm worried about with Duke is the same thing I've always been worried about with Duke. Their defense is inconsistent, and their depth just isn't there this year. We'll see how they go moving forward, but impressive win. Maybe the best road win of the season for anybody, going to Virginia and winning. On the other side, Notre Dame, what are you doing? I told you to watch out for Pitt. I'm not entirely surprised that they fell, but in my piece last week I said that those are the games they're going to have to be careful about. And Pitt, of course, upends the Irish. Now, the Irish had a real chance to go on a run there and compete for a top seed at the end of the season. That's looking less and less likely, but they still only have 3 losses. It's going to be interesting to see how they rebound from this one because this is a dangerous team. Finally, Miami, you disappoint me. Blown out by Georgia Tech, lose to Florida State. Miami is trending downward. This is a team that was firmly in the tournament as of a couple days ago, and now they are firmly back on the bubble. Those are 2 bad losses moving forward. They've got to get another signature win to feel comfortable.